game that can get me 4, 5, 6 yards of carry when I need to. I have a running back I have a quarterback that can pull it in and tuck it and run when I need to. I don't necessarily need De'Aaron King to throw the ball 40 times a game. And he's adjusting to it. And again, I'm fine with that. That works when you have Brevin running seam routes by his damn self. That I appreciate, because that run game sets all that up.
Yeah, so I have a question for both of you. Marsh, I want you to answer this as well. So if you had to pick, and you have to pick, what concerns you more? Is it the fact that our offense relies on chunk plays? Because, I mean, as we talked to Parker last week, he's like an analytic stats guy, he showed that our offense really isn't more efficient on a down-to-down basis than last season or the year before, but we get more chunk plays. We're getting more plays that are 20-plus yards, which is, increasing our overall production. But, on a down-to-down basis, we're really not that much more efficient. However, I mean, it's clear that we're better. So does that concern you more, or does the bend don't break defense concern you more?
Who wants to, you guys want me to go first with that one, or?
Yeah. Guest always goes first.
I'm going to lean towards the offense with this one. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to add a little bit more to it. The fact that they're relying on the chunk plays is somewhat of a concern, but what is also a equal concern for me is, and again, I don't want to harp on these kids, man. These guys are kids, and they're doing what they can out there on the field. But not only can the receivers not separate, but they can't make contested catches.
Yeah,
that concerns me. I can live with one. You've seen the big receivers that can't separate, but if it's a 50-50 ball, it's going to be 70-30 when it's up in the air, because he'll get it. These guys can't separate, and they can't make contested catches. They need a lot of setting up to make plays as receivers, and that concerns me a little bit.
Yeah.
The defense, I'm not really worried about, because those guys, they're going to fly around. They're going to make plays. As long as that defensive line is making tackles for loss and sacks, they're going to make turnovers. They're going to be fine. I really don't care about their numbers. They're going to be all right. But as long as that pass rush continues to come, they're going to win games. That's all that matters to me. So the offense side of the ball, that.
Yeah. So Jordan, your question was, what are you more worried about, or?
Yeah. Which concerns you more? Is it the fact that we're relying on chunk plays, or is it the bend don't break defense?
I'm gonna have to agree with Eric and talk and say the wide receivers. I mean, I've said it on this podcast 100 times. I don't worry actually worry too much about a Manny Diaz defense. I know that we couldn't stop Clemson, but for the teams that we're playing right now, this defense can get us to 9-10 wins. Yep. I think our defense is getting better as well. Nesta is really playing well. Quincy Roche is playing that like he could be a first-round draft pick. Bubba Bolden is emerging, things like that. And the receivers, there's not really an excuse anymore. I mean, Pope, Wiggins, and Harley have been here for 3-4 years. If you can't produce at all as a senior or junior when you were expected to be like the guys, then we got a bigger problem. If you're in the middle of the season and your head coach has to say, all right, we're changing things up, we're having a wide receiver competition this week, whoever is the best is going to start, and the other guys are true freshmen.
That ain't good.
That ain't good.
So that's my answer. I'm not really too concerned about the defense, considering the teams we're playing on the rest of the schedule.
Yeah.
The key takeaway I took from the Pitt game, I didn't care about the total yards. They had 5 red zone trips, and they gave up 1 touchdown. That's all that matters.
I agree, and I guess my take from early on in the season is like, is that sustainable? I've harped on the bend don't break, because I'm like, man, I'm really worried that one game that's gonna bite us really hard. There's gonna be a day that they just break consistently. And that's kind of what happened against Clemson for the most part. But, that's kind of expected, right? Like, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be upset about that. That's what should have happened if you go just by the spread and whatever. But I am worried about that against teams like Virginia Tech and UNC. However, I do want to point out how big of a shot in the arm guys like Jared Harrison Hunt have been. Mm-hmm. I complained a lot about how soft our run defense was between the linebackers and the interior defensive line. But I mean, I feel like the more that Harrison Hunt is on the field, the less that's a problem. I mean, that's kind of what we've seen in the last 2 weeks. Yeah. And I'm hoping that's a trend that sticks. Yeah. So if Corey Flagg and Sam Brooks and Jared Harrison Hunt can really solidify the middle of the field for us, our defense won't have any problems. I mean, and, DJ Ivey and Corey Couch have really stepped up in the last few weeks. So if our defense continues to get better, really there's not many holes. We just had to mess around with the personnel a little bit because there were some dudes that were not pulling their weight.
Yeah. And like I said, the bend don't break thing with this defense, it's against certain teams, you can get away with it. Against a team like Pitt, you can get away with it. You can give up 360 yards or whatever. But like I said, they have 5 red zone trips and they give up 1 touchdown. That is phenomenal. But as long as the pass rush is flowing, which it can be, Jalen Phillips has proven to be unblockable at times. Yeah. As long as that pass rush is flowing and they're able to generate red zone stops, they're going to win some games. They're going to be involved. And that is what – and go back to that Clemson game, man. Clemson wasn't really gashing them with the big plays until the second half when it looked like it was getting out of reach. A lot of the Clemson drives were long drives, 9, 10, 11-play drives. So they made Clemson work a little bit. And if you go to that first drive of the game, man, they could have had a game-turning pick with Roche if he did on both sides. But they made Clemson work in the first half. That's probably one of the takeaways I took from that. So
I like that because not a lot of people are talking about that. And that Roche play, I think that changed everything. That kind of took the wind out of us. It was on the first drive. So one of my last questions for you, I know Jordan wanted to ask you a few NFL things. So I saw that you write for the Scouting Academy, correct?
Well, I took the Scouting Academy course back in 2017.
Okay, because I was going to ask you if you're like some NFL draft, if you're into that stuff, and I was going to ask you about some of the.
I still do NFL draft work for the Falcaholic, for Tackler Media as well that I'm with now. I did have a 2-year stint with Fox Sports that I was doing NFL draft work as well. So that was just me learning the game a little bit better for those 2 months, and I learned. I don't know if you guys even thought about taking it, but guys,
definitely.
Louis Riddick, one of the instructors, former Rams head coach Mike Martz was another instructor as well.
Wow.
Jerry Angelo, former Bears GM, was another instructor. You can really learn the game of football in and out, and it really expanded the game for me. So
I'm gonna have to DM you about that, man.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
So since you know a little bit about the NFL draft, let me ask you the names of 3 or 4 Canes, and when you tell me if you think they're going to leave early or come back for next year. Okay, we'll start off with Bubba Bolden.
Oh no, that's bad.
I want him to come back, but I think he's going to have enough people in his ear for him to leave.
Yeah,
he's playing really well right now.
He is. Okay, what about Jalen Phillips?
He's gone.
Really?
He's gone.
Oh, God. Okay.
I think right now he's getting second round talk, and a lot of that can also depend on combine workouts, which I think he's going to tear up.
Yeah.
So I think he's good as gone.
Jalen is you could just see him and watch him play. You could tell that he would kill the combine.
He's a freak. Yeah, okay. I mean, if he's getting the second round grade before the combine and then he kills the combine, we could have 3 ends go in the first round. That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
Well, it's just crazy because I was talking about it on the last episode. Greg Rousseau was able to, opt out and he's going to go into the draft. He'll most likely be probably a top 15 pick, but that's because he had that one really great year of film. Do you think it's a concern that Bubba Bolden and Jalen Phillips, they're going to have a really good year of film, but it's probably not up to Rousseau's level, because that was like one of the best seasons we've seen out of a Miami single player in a long time. Do you think that's a concern with Bubba and Jalen going, in the first or second round?
No, because I think when it comes to those draft grades, especially what you see now from Rousseau, I think a lot of it also is based on, their anticipation of how they're going to test. Those combine tests are going to be, they're going to be under the microscope. And, you see it on the film. There are some things Rousseau needs to work on, but when it comes to him being in t-shirt and tights, he's going to look pretty good. Same with Jalen Phillips. Yeah. He's going to tear it up. And I think when they do that and they have those workouts and they look great, they're good as gone, man. Like these guys, I think Bubba has a chance to come back. But with Phillips being a pass rusher, right now he's getting pre-draft rankings like in the 60s, which is late second round. So that's with only a handful of game tape and not even a workout. So
okay, last guy I'm going to ask you about is D'Eriq King.
I can see D'Eriq coming back.
Yeah, I'm torn.
I can see him coming back. I can see him coming back because he's probably not going to get a ton of draft intake that he wants to hear. Plus, I think he loves the stage, the college football stage.
Yeah,
you have to love it if you're if you're considering coming back for a sixth year.
I don't think he minds it. I honestly think he might come back. I think you saw what happened with Lamar Jackson with wanting to change positions. He's going to get that. They're going to make him change positions. And I don't know if he's ready to play running back, or I don't know if he wants to really play slot receiver right now.
Yeah.
I think he may come back and work on, because you think about it, if he comes back, Lashley comes back, he gets another year in this offense, and he fine-tunes the quarterback position a little bit more, not to mention Trevor Lawrence is probably gone, Justin Fields is probably gone. So you're talking about a guy that's probably possibly a Heisman favorite coming into next year, going into next year. He has an opportunity to better his draft status if he comes back.
Yeah, I feel like his draft stock will be a very unique commodity because we're seeing guys like Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson kind of change the perception of what an NFL quarterback can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of factors that will go into if D'Eriq King can get drafted as a QB and if he gets drafted high in particular. One, the first and most important will obviously be his performance. I've actually, in the last two games, I'm not seeing somebody who's going to go second round, and I honestly think that if King goes to the NFL as a QB, he'll probably be a high pick. I don't see him being like a sixth round draft pick as a quarterback.
I don't know, guys. I think he's day 3 at best.
Yeah.
Even Jalen Hurts, who had 3 years of starting experience with 2 different programs, national title winning quarterback. Yep. Even he was being told to change positions. Even a lot of people scratched their heads when he got drafted by Philly.
Yeah.
I just and he's he has the size comparison to D'Eriq King. I just can't see D'Eriq going into the draft circles and saying, and solidifying it this year.
And I'm agreeing with you in saying that I that's why I think he's coming back as well. Because I think he's going to go and they're going to be like, look, dude, you're a fourth round slot receiver at best, and then so he's going to be like, he's going to have to make that tough decision. And I think for all the reasons you said, if he comes back and has a dynamite year and, we're still seeing great things in the NFL from guys like Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray and, guys that, they play an unorthodox style for what we perceive is the NFL quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that is still successful, which I anticipate it will be, then De'Aaron King might get some